Thank you everyone for joining us. And today we'll be talking about the sustainable future flight business model, barriers and motivation. So first thing first, what is future flight? So ultimately, it's about connecting people, delivering goods, and providing services through the three types of vehicles: drones, the air taxis, if you want to call it, and then also the regional air mobility. And now we can see a timeline provided by the UKRI, and in 2 years' time, they're projecting that we will reach industrialization, which means things will be commercially viable, and by 4 years' time, we'll be reach scaling. That means people will accept it, and then by 6 years, by 2030, we'll have fully integrated service. And now that's a very rapid evolving timeline, and if anybody here want to raise their hand and think that's totally viable, that's totally where we're going, feel free to do it. If not, you're in good company with other experts, because this timeline suggests that we will have a safe, sustainable, and the public will accept it and use it, and also will bring economic growth to the UK. But that's probably not happening. It's a very ambitious goal. But what we do know is co-create is a method to create relevant and also financially better performance for business. So our project is exactly that. That's where we come in. Our project is about co-creation of future flight ecosystems and enterprise. So we're looking at the emerging innovation ecosystem while developing co-create methods to ensure broad stakeholder participation. So through that, we'll hope to establish future flight opportunities for the aerospace industry. So now, what's the aim of our study here? Is really to understand the motivation and barriers to sustainable future flight business models. And how do we do it is through the expert interview. So we interviewed 12 experts, roughly around 60 minutes for each of them, and we asked the questions such as the technologies that they expect to be developed in the next 5 to 10 years, and the social and economic and the environmental impact of future flight, and also if they have the intention to engage with the circular economy concepts. So when we got all the data, how we look at the data we have is through the three theoretical frameworks. So first being the TOE framework, the second being the circular economy approach, and the third being the multi-level perspective theory. So what we found first are three cross-disciplinary themes. So first one is about the slow transition of aviation to carbon zero air mobility. And the second one is a startup will lead the future flight industry development, further being focusing on the less attractive niches and on the resources to build competitive advantages. And the third one being that social disparity is a key barrier to public sectors. And how we arrived at those themes is really by their common shared barriers and enablers. And now I'm going to take you through the influencing factors that's behind those barriers and enablers. So going back to that framework I just showed you, the TOE framework, I'll walk you through the influencing factors. So in technological context, we have the fuel availability. So I'm pretty sure you guys are very familiar with that. But I think going beyond that green rhetoric, just the fuel itself, there is always that concern about the production of the fuel and also the infrastructure. How can we decarbonize that? And then also the debate between solid or liquid approach, so batteries or hydrogen itself, and we can see an interest in the investment. And then there's the readiness of the technology. We do see a kind of unhealthy equity investment culture, so they are kind of leading to overhyped timelines. So what we see in the timeline is very, it probably will take longer to mature. But we do know that commercial viability, efficiency at scale, and the usability will determine that readiness. And going to the organization, so first is the company culture, your intention to engage with the circular economy, and second, and any organization can see human being at the core of it. But we do see a very massive talent and skill shortage in the future flight industry. And by mitigating that shortage is really to identify industry skill requirements, because we're also competing with other industries that is trying to recruit, and with a more attractive salary offer oftentimes. And also we can also diversify our workforce, for example, hiring women engineers and younger staffs. And last one is industry change. So we can see startups will lead, where the incumbent companies will have more inertia because they will have to change their business models, where the startups already gained their competitive advantages over obtaining patents or securing their supply chains. But big companies have resources to invest in staff. So that would also push the whole industry forward. And in the environmental context, regulations, we all know there's delays and gaps. That's a known fact. But what's behind that is because the capacity and skill shortage in the regulatory bodies. So that's kind of a current thing we're looking at. And then also the social norms. So there is being an assumption that only the affluent demographic will have the benefit of this technology. So how we can bring the social benefit to more people, that would be a big impact. Now going to circular economy. So there are quite a few key challenges. The first being there's a conflict of interest. So we do see people have the intention to, but it has not gained any traction in the future flight. So why is that? Is because the investing in circular economy concepts, you have to invest quite a bit of upfront money, and that going against the director board's interest in short, quick return of profit. And also the uncertainties comes with that. And second being the challenge of supply chain. So reduce, reuse, recycle, we're all familiar with that. So that kind of corresponding to the whole process of producing, recycling, and remanufacturing. And the materials of airplanes and composite materials is hard to take them apart and recycle them. And then the supply chains association with resource colonialism is also a concern. But that also poses opportunities for niche business. So unlike the incumbent companies, there is opportunity to adopt such concepts from the ground up. And also, and more important is through the innovation vehicle design. So what material they use with that design. So they can go hand in hand, much more coherent and a coherent approach, and also consider the repairability of that vehicle airframe. So coming to the last theory is the multi-level perspective. So here I show 4 future flight market segments. I'm not going to dive into details because there's quite a bit in there, but I just want to show you how ununified the development is, and all depending on the regulation, technology, infrastructure, and all the other influencing factors I included in the previous article. So it really is a very complex operations within the whole business, future flight, across all the business market segments. So what are the implications? So here we show you a diagram based on that multi-level perspective theory, and you can see where the niche business are at the bottom, and where the regime level you have all the key players and who have the resource and power, and they establish sort of stabilize what we have right now. And one thing I want to point out is highlighted in orange. There, military and defense industry. And so what we found is them being a major funder of the development and research. So that really compelled us to ask the question, so who is looking after the interests of industry and then the interests of the public, right? So here we give a bit of summary of what actions you might take if you're in one of the groups, either government or regulatory bodies, or your business at different levels, big business, startups, or your OEMs, or if you're just a member of public. So here we really want to highlight is the government, because they're the only one that have the power to cast influence on multiple levels, so from the niche level to the regime level. So first, they're able to reinforce the policy stability and financial incentives. So that's being reported being quite important, because they're the only one able to drive incumbent companies to really invest and even collaborate with niche business. And with the and also their ability to coordinate the actors that were mentioned in the diagram now. So if you're interested, you can see who you want to collaborate with and forge alliance, and to address the regulatory and jurisdictionary gaps. And lastly, I think I mentioned already, is they are able to boost the regulatory body's capacity, which will address the most important barrier right now, which is policy and barriers. And that's it for us. If you want to talk to us more, there are 3 of us, so we can answer our questions. And you're very welcome to read our paper on the website, and I guarantee you will find some surprise there, more than our paper. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chen, for your wonderful presentation. Any questions? Any questions? Yes, please. You can go to the phone.
As I told before,
introduce yourself before you will ask a question.
I'm interested to hear your perspective on how to change a culture in the industry, because I think in experimental aircraft or future flight, I can see there's a perception of we just need to get it working. Once we've got it working, then we'll sort out the sustainability and how much we can replicate. So what do you think are the things that can change that culture to get it embedded in it?
That's a very good question, and I can say, so culture automatically sort of a diagram, right? The culture goes on to the top, whereas on the landscape level, which is something that would always change slowly. But as we also know that, just mentioned government, so I think that's one of the group of people that can change it is really through financial incentives, because we just talked about the unhealthy equity investment culture there. So if government can provide more policy stability and also offer financial incentives, then that kind of offers niche business and also incumbent business other places to look for money instead of relying on just the equity that's expecting a quick return. And also I think there is another point of being transparent and honest, because in your findings we did the word report is saying it's not just people outside of the people we're not familiar with, but actually engineers who work in the field also actually believe they will be able to achieve when it's not realistic. So I think a lot go into that honesty and transparency. So yeah, I think that's the main 3 things I can think right now. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chen.